Ahoy hoy everybody, and welcome to my video blog for the London Film and ComicCon 2016. It's now Monday, August the 1st, so pinch and punch for the first of the month, no returns. I spent Saturday and Sunday at the con, couldn't go Friday because I was working, but that was no huge issue because everybody who I wanted to meet was there over the weekend anyway. Just a quick reminder, last year's event, they couldn't get all of the Olympia, they couldn't get the big hall, the grand hall. They also had massive guests such as Sigourney Weaver and Michael J. Fox. It was extremely busy, it was extremely cramped, it was extremely hot and sweaty, and it was all on multiple levels, and you had to climb up stairs and people got stuck on stairs and all sorts of things. For further details you can always watch my blog from last year. This year they had the whole venue. They also had, whilst they had some big name guests, nobody quite of the same calibre, so it wasn't quite as busy. Because they had the whole venue, they managed to split it nicely, so all the dealers were on the ground floor, spread across two big halls. All the photo shoot areas were on the same level, within easy walking distance of each other, which was one of the big problems last year. And then all the guests were in the same big hall, more or less. Which just made everything a whole lot easier to get around. Not sure of the exact numbers who were there, but it definitely felt like there was less than last year. Saturday was still very busy, just not as manic as last year and probably the year before. Sunday was like a good old-fashioned Sunday, it was a lot quieter. But so yeah, Saturday morning, arrived at the venue, no problems. Got there about 7:30. What they did, they used one of the smaller halls to load us in. So rather than just forming a massive queue outside the building and then being zapped, our tickets, electronic tickets being zapped as we entered the building when the doors opened at 9, you went in, got your bag checked, which is a new thing this year, but I understand why it's being done. Then if you had any diamond passes, you could pick those up straight away. Then they zapped your tickets there and then, and you joined a big queue inside the hall. But that meant when the doors opened at 9, you were just straight in, no problems. Saturday, as I say, I got there about 7:30, and it was sort of a big long snaky queue. I was at the start of the 4th snake. Probably about 300 to 400 people in front of me, I would guess. About halfway through they slightly rearranged the queues and put a couple of longer ones in, so at that point I was at the end of the first long queue. Doors opened at 9, got straight in, headed upstairs, picked up all my virtual queue tickets. Because of the route I took in and headed up to the guests, I was sort of middling sort of numbers for most of them, sort of between 1 and 200, some of them slightly under 100, a couple of them slightly over 200. Had a hunt round, saw where everybody was, found all the photo booth areas, and my first photo shoot was at 9:30. So headed straight to that and joined the queue. And my first photo shoot was with Mads Mikkelsen. Mads, for me, the main reason I wanted to meet him is he played Le Chiffre in Casino Royale, the Daniel Craig version, not the David Niven. One of my favourite, if not my absolute favourite Bond villain. He's got a role coming up in Star Wars Rogue One and in Doctor Strange. He's the lead in the TV series Hannibal, where he played Hannibal Lecter. He's done lots of other things as well. So yes, this is my photo shoot with him. Although he's looking quite serious in the photo, he was really smiley and shook her hands, and yeah, very nice guy. Here we go, that's the first nice guy of the video. How many do you think there'll be by the end? Okay, let's consult my notes as to what happened next. Bit more scooting around after that. I was going to be there all day because I had a photo shoot right at the end of the day as well, so I wasn't in a rush to get everybody, so I had a little wander around the stalls, and then about 10:30 I had my next photo shoot, which was with the wonderful Natalia Tena. Nat's one of my favourite people on the planet. I've met her a few times before. Big fan of her as an actress. She played Tonks in Harry Potter films, she played Osho in Game of Thrones, done lots of other stuff as well. She was in About a Boy, great British film that came out earlier this year, I think it was, which was Super Bob, which I recommend to everybody. She's also wonderful as the lead singer of the magnificent band Molotov Jukebox. I was wearing, as you might have already spotted, the t-shirt I got as part of the pledge campaign for their last album. Went into the shoot, she was being her usual wonderful self, doing wacky poses with people. Got to the front, she saw me, she said, "Oh, brilliant," gave me a huge great hug, said, "I'm so pleased you're a fan," and then we had the photo, which was this. After Nat's shoot, I went and took advantage of the Diamond Pass I'd bought for the next guest. Quick reminder, Diamond Passes are special passes for some of the bigger guests. They, as part of the pass, you get 1 or 2 autographs free. In this case I had 2, a photo shoot, and some other bits and bobs, but it also means you get priority for that particular guest. They say they've introduced them as a means to guarantee getting bigger guests, which is what happened with Sigourney Weaver last year and Michael J. Fox. Couple of the guests who were Diamond Pass this year, yes, you could see why. Couple of them not necessarily so, and 2 of them, including Mads Mikkelsen, were actually announced as normal guests first, and then they added a Diamond Pass a bit later, which sort of goes against the idea of them a bit. But never mind. The guest that I met was Famke Janssen. She played Zinnia on the Top in GoldenEye, Jean Grey in X-Men and X-Men 2. She's in Hansel and Gretel, Hemlock Grove, lots of things. I was really looking forward to meeting her. She's one of my favourite Bond characters. She's a very attractive lady. Yeah, I was really looking forward to meeting her. I snapped up her Diamond Pass straight away when it was announced, and in fact got number 2. As I say, as part of a Diamond Pass you got photo shoot, 2 autographs with her, an exclusive print which I picked up as I went in, and while it was better than the print I got for Sigourney Weaver last year, it's a nice image, but the problem is, and it's over here, is that because of the size of it, unless you come equipped, where are we? Unless you come equipped to carry larger items, which I don't, because the biggest stuff I get is a 10 by 8, it meant I had to try and roll it to put it in my bag, and it's on proper photo paper, so it ended up, as you can see, getting creased. So basically it's no use to me whatsoever. Personally, I'd rather have the pass a little bit cheaper, or something. A couple of the Mads Mikkelsen pass, for example, had a mug instead, which is at least is a bit more practical and easier to carry around. Or if they're going to do an exclusive print, either do it on lighter paper that won't fold, or do it a smaller size. I can see why they do a nice big size, but let's say it's just awkward. But yes, I was looking forward to meeting Famke. Once she turned up, she was a bit late turning up, but as soon as I could, I joined her queue, selected a couple of GoldenEye images for her to sign. And as I approached her, I could see with absolute shock that she has had major cosmetic surgery, and I think it's fairly recent, because her face could hardly move and she hardly looked like herself anymore. So that already was a bit of a downer, because she's ruined her looks as far as I'm concerned. And then I could see she wasn't really interacting with people either. That was me scratching that funny noise there, sorry. So I went up, put photos down, said hello, asked how she was, and she looked up and smiled as much as she could and said, "I'm fine, thanks." And that was about it. And when I said thank you again, she just sort of smiled at me, and as she was smiling, she was turning to look at the next person behind me. So not a great interaction, but I thought, oh well, at least I've got her autograph, that's the important bit, and I've got the photo shoot coming up. More about of which a bit later. After Famke, I headed for another autograph, and this was the wonderful Michelle Gomez. Michelle plays Missy, stroke the Master, in Doctor Who at the moment. She's in Green Wing, which is one of the best TV series ever. Lots of other stuff as well. She's had a role in Gotham lately, I believe. She is mad as a box of frogs, and I totally love her. There's a couple of girls getting photos signed in front of me, and by the looks and sounds of it, they'd already met her at some point and they were chatting away, and one of them said to her, "Oh, I love your hair." It was all pinned up and everything. I said, "It's a bit too much information, miss, but basically this is how I do it when I go to bed at night, because I've got so much hair, and I woke up this morning and I just thought fuck it and left it like it." So that was how she had her hair. Anyway, yes, took my Missy photo up for her to sign, which I'm very pleased to note that she signed in purple, which those of you who actually know me will know is my favourite colour, as you can tell by the curtains. Yes, so she signed it. I complimented her, said how wonderful I thought she was. She thanked me. She was very modest. She said, "Oh well, I've just been lucky," and I just went nonsense, and she sort of laughed. And yes, that was Michelle for Saturday. This is the photo Michelle signed for me. Any guess who I had photo shoots booked with? I think in every case anyway, there were nearly every case there were no post photos. But I didn't even bother trying, knowing that I had photo shoots. Thankfully, everybody I met who I didn't have a photo shoot for, I managed to get photos with, which was made a pleasant change lately. But after Michelle, well, if you're wondering what I'm consulting here, these are my rough notes. It's what I take on the day of who I need to meet, and then I mark what order I've met them in, and that's usually enough to remind me. But yes, next was, we must be on number 5. Next was Sean Maher. Sean played Simon Tam, Dr. Simon Tam, in Firefly and the film spin-off Serenity. He's also done lots of other bits on US TV, but nothing major. Sean, it was one of only 2 Firefly guests, main cast, who I had not met yet. 3 times he's been announced for shows and had to cancel late because he's got other work. So thankfully this time he actually managed to make it. Not the chattiest of guests, but very pleasant. This is a photo he signed for me with a quote from Firefly on it. Next, after Sean, I met Faye Marsay. Faye most recently has been playing the Waif, Arya's nemesis on Game of Thrones. She was in the Father Christmas episode of Doctor Who. She was one of the people trapped at the North Pole in that one. She was in Fresh Meat series 1 and 2, I think. I can't remember exactly the series, but she was in, yeah, she was in Fresh Meat. She was in The White Queen, in Glue. She's done quite a lot. Very talented actress, which I told her, and she thanked me profusely for that. She's a Northern girl, I think she's Mancunian, and very much so. It was, you know, all right, love, pardon the accent, a nice one, and stuff like that. Yeah, that was a terrible accent, sorry. But you get the gist. I got 2 photos signed for her because I couldn't really decide between Doctor Who and Game of Thrones, and since she was only £15, I was happy to get both, so she signed both of those for me, and vis-a-vis. And next was Faye again, because it was my photo shoot with her. What I forgot to mention earlier was, as I went into my Mads Mikkelsen photo shoot, first thing, one of the young ladies crewing it, she was one of the girls dealing with taking the bags from you, looked at me, went, "Wow, Molotov Jukebox t-shirt," and flashed me. But sadly, she was just showing me her t-shirt as well. But yes, anyway, so it was back to that area. The cat's wanting to be let in. Hi, darling. She's gonna come up. You gonna say hello? Come up. Sash. There she is. Say hello. Oh, she's going to walk on my keyboard. No, she's not. This is Sasha, everybody. She's going to go and settle on my bed, by the looks of it. Okay, sorry about that. Yes, so headed back to that same photo shoot area for Faye, which is what reminded me. And this is a photo shoot I had with Faye. That is her smile. Every photo I've ever seen of her when she's smiling, that is her smile. Sort of a slightly lopsided one. After Faye was yet another photo shoot. This was with Jack Gleeson. Jack Gleeson, 2 large roles in his acting career. He played Small Boy in Batman Begins, and most recently and most famously he was Joffrey in Game of Thrones. He has subsequently retired from acting, which I think is a great pity, although he is puppeteering, so maybe he'll retain the bug and get back on our screens at some point. I've already heard that he was a really nice guy, completely the opposite to Joffrey, and sure enough he was. You can see from the photo you're about to see his grin. He was doing this for everyone, and it was sort of a deep breath, and then it was a until the photo was taken. But yeah, very pleasant. People who were wanting to put him in a headlock and pretend to kill him and things like that, he was joining in. So yes, this is my photo with him. After Jack was yet another photo shoot, and this was my shoot with Famke Janssen. As we approached, we were told that she was sitting down. We were not to touch her, we were not to try and shake her hand, not to do, well, basically anything to respect her personal space. So basically it was just a case of stand relatively close to her and smile while she looked vaguely in the direction of the camera. I've got a sort of smile on my one, so I'm not too bothered. I've seen some where she's barely looking at the camera. I've heard rumours of one where she's not looking at the camera at all. I did overhear somebody say it was because she had broken ribs or something, but don't know how true that is. But for the amount of money I paid for the Diamond Pass, I think it was £170, which when you've added up what I got, was a good deal. Was it 170 or was it 104? I can't remember the exact maths, but it worked out about £10 more than the value of the individual items, for the joy of having a priority. It also included her talk, which I didn't actually attend, but that's my own choice. I could have done, I did have the time to do so, but I decided not to. So yeah, it was a lot of money to pay and not the best experience, so I wasn't overly enamoured with somebody who previously I liked a lot. But there we go. Yeah, sodder. After Famke, I was back for an autograph, and that was with Anton Lesser. Anton's in Game of Thrones. He's been in lots and lots of things. You probably recognise him from... He does lots of historical dramas like Hollow Crown and Wolf Hall. He's done all sorts. If you don't know, Google him. That's what it's for. Happily, he was posting photos, but we had a nice little chat. How he enjoys playing the character in Game of Thrones, and he wishes he had more to do. But yeah, really nice. This is the photo he signed for me. And this is me and him. Then next to Anton was another Game of Thrones guest. It's Sam Coleman. I'll be careful what I say here because he's only in a couple of episodes of season 6. He plays a character called Willis. Do I say any more? I'll leave it at that. Those of you who have seen it know who he is. Those of you who haven't but intend to, what I've said shouldn't give it away. The photo might give it away a bit, so you might want to close your eyes for 5 seconds after I say this is what he signed for me. But he was a very nice guy, young lad as you can see, but very chatty, obviously loving the experience, and as we spoke, he loved making Game of Thrones. Yeah, so if you don't want to know, look away now. This is what he signed for me. The quote on that is a bit of a giveaway. And this is me with him, which anybody can happily look at. Next, another autograph. I went and got Mads Mikkelsen's, because my number was passed by then. Picked up a Le Chiffre image of him, which he happily signed. Nice guy. Had a quick chat. He thanked me profusely when I said he was my favourite villain. Shook my hand. Clearly liked meeting people. And this photo he signed for me. Next was another autograph. It was Michael Emerson. Main reason I wanted to meet him is because he played... character name's gone. I'll pop it up on here. In Lost. Main sort of villain, but might not have been a villain. If you've seen it, you know who he is. He's also in the first Saw film, I believe. He's in Person of Interest. He did a couple of X-Files, 1 or 2 X-Files. Very, very good actor. Yeah, and he was a very nice guy. Spoke to him a bit about how much he enjoyed doing Lost and what a great character it was to play, and I said it must have been fun. He said, yeah, actor fun. I said, yeah, you can really get your teeth into it. He said, yeah, exactly. Pleasantly surprised to see he was posing for photos at the table as well. So this is the photo of him in Lost that he signed for me. And this is me and him. Then where's 14 gone? And next, I headed to get autograph from Berkoff. few years ago, Stephen was at Winter ComicCon, same one Matt Smith was at, and I had intended to get his autograph then, but given his reputation, for those of you who don't know, he's quite an old school actor. Basically, if it's not theatre, he doesn't really respect the work. He writes plays and books and all sorts, but theatre is his love, and I mean love. He's done lots of film and TV, major roles, but he does it for the money so that he can do more theatre, basically. Yes, and he's got a reputation of not being the happiest of chaps. So in the end I decided not to get him at that Winter Comic Con, but when he was announced for this con, I thought, well, I will this time. So I booked a photo shoot with him, which more about later, knowing that will force me to meet him this time. So joined the queue for his autograph. Haven't explained what he's been in. He was General Orlov, I think, if that was the character name, in Octopussy. He's in Doctor Who. He's been in fairly recently. A couple of weeks ago he played Ukrainian, Eastern European, let's say, janitor on Man Down, which was a very funny performance. He was in Beverly Hills Cop. He was in Rambo 2. Yes, he's just done lots and lots and lots. I'm sure you recognise him, and most of you probably know him by his name anyway. As I approached his table, he'd not long been back from his break, and he asked his crew member, he said, "Oh, I was chatting to a really nice, really talented Danish actor in the canteen, Danish guy, been in a Bond film. What was his name again?" And his crew member didn't know, so I said, "Oh, it's Mads Mikkelsen." He said, "Oh, thank you," he said. He started signing the photo I put down. I said, "Oh, can you make it to Martin?" And he sort of looked at me, Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N. Oh, so he did it. And then he handed it back and said, "Thanks, Mart." So, anyway, but he did smile at me, which is probably more than he did to most people. And at least now I've got the autograph. And as I say, I had a photo shoot with him later, more of which then, because there's stuff to tell about that. After Stephen, I got Pip Torrens. Pip's somebody, when you see his picture, you go, "Oh yes." Bit like Anton, he's been in everything. For my needs, he was in Tomorrow Never Dies, which photo I got signed is from, although it's not the best image. He was in Doctor Who in Human Nature and Family of Blood. That's the episodes where David Tennant disguised himself as a human and became a teacher. He was the headmaster in that. He's in Versailles at the moment. He's in Poldark at the moment. As I say, you'll see him and you go, "Oh yes." Very nice guy. I had a little chat about the event because it was the first one he'd done and what he had coming up. Just finished filming season 2 of Versailles, and hoping to start season 3 of Poldark soon. Yeah, the images they had for him, the Doctor Who one was one of him with David Tennant, and as I've mentioned before, I don't like to get photos where there's more than one person in them unless I think I can get them signed by the other person, which I'm not sure if I'll be able to get David again apart from writing to him. Excuse me a second. Yes, so in the end I had this what is a screen grab from Tomorrow Never Dies, but this is a photo he signed for me. And this is me with him. After Pip, there's a bit of waiting around, hoping that numbers would come up for my virtual queue tickets for various people. There's also some people I could have got, but I was saving till Sunday because I knew I had to be there a long time again because the photo shoots on Sunday, and I knew it would be quieter. But Eventually it was time for my Stephen Berkoff photo shoot. It's meant to start at 5 o'clock. I headed there about 10 to, and there were, how many? There were 3 guests from Beverly Hills Cop there. Originally there was going to be 4, but one of them cancelled. And the way they did individual shots with 2 of them. Then they did a group one, and then Stephen's one was after that. The group one was just starting when I arrived. Everybody went through. We all queued up ready for Stephen's, and I could see from where I was queuing, I could see into the photo shoot area, and he clearly wasn't happy. He sat down, he was drinking lots of water. I could see him shaking his head, people talking to him. It was getting later and later, and it still hadn't started. And it was pretty obvious he didn't want to do it for some reason. Eventually they managed to get one of the big bosses in to just speak to him. And then the pit boss, who was in charge of that area, came out to explain to us that Stephen was feeling unwell. So he would be sat down, there was to be no contact with him, no touching, etc, etc, similar to Famke. But we would be sat next to him, which was different from Famke. We were stood next to Famke. So we went in, and basically Stephen just sat there and looked at the camera while we sat next to him and smiled and thanked him, and he ignored us. But this is a photo of me with Stephen Berkoff. Finally, it was now about 20 past 5. I managed to pick up at the start of the day quite a low virtual ticket number for Jeremy Renner, who's probably the biggest guest of the weekend. I was number 102, and as I'd left to go to Stephen's shoot, they were calling up to 75, so I guessed I'd be okay. As it was, by the time I got around there, they just put it open queue, because by that time a lot of people had gone home. Jeremy Renner, if you don't recognise the name, you'll certainly recognise the face. He's Hawkeye in the Avengers films. He was the lead in The Bourne Legacy, which is the Bourne film without Jason Bourne in. He's in Mission Impossible 4 and 5. He played Hansel, is that the bloke? Whichever one's the male out of Hansel and Gretel. I think it's Hansel, isn't it? He had a small role in the first series of Angel for one episode. He was Oscar nominated for The Hurt Locker. He's American Hustle, lots and lots he's done. As soon as you'll see him, you go, oh yes. He was no personalisations, which I'm not surprised for somebody of his calibre, stature, whatever you want to class it as. And he was expensive. He was £75. Because it was no personalisations, I decided to get the shot which I thought would look best signed, rather than one that would mean most to me. So they had a nice image of him from his Bourne film, which I would normally have got, but because it wouldn't have looked as good signed, it makes sense to me. I picked this image of him as Hawkeye, which he signed nicely in gold. Although it was late in the day, he was still very nice, you know, taking time to thank us for coming, shaking our hands. A couple of places in front of me, it was a dad with a little boy. He signed his photo. His dad said to him, "There's no chance you can make out to," I think it was Ethan, "to Ethan, could you?" And he sort of looked around and he quickly scribbled "to Ethan" on it. And the crew member who was sat with him said, "Nobody saw that?" Okay, I said, "No, didn't see a thing, didn't see a thing." Which is nice, so everybody just sort of joined in and didn't think, well, he got one signed, personalised, so why can't I? But yeah, so I could tell he was a really nice guy. So yes, yeah, that was it. It was now just gone 5:30, so headed back to car park. Had to get my ticket validated, because for about the 4th or 5th year in a row of me being, well, basically ever since they've had the automatic number plate recognition system in the car park, it's usually at least one time, if I'm there more than one day, it doesn't work, and sure enough it didn't work Saturday morning. But that wasn't an issue. They just validate the ticket when they see your booking. and I left. Thought I'd head home via the A3 so I could stop in my Little Chef for something to eat. Pulled in and the Little Chef was shut because they had no water, so I had to drive all the way home. And once you're on the A3, there's no restaurant-y type, servicey type places, just a couple of garages. So I ended up picking up a McDonald's from just around the corner from me. Yes, got home, vegged out because I was knackered, and then did it all again on Sunday, which I will tell you about in part 2. Thank you for watching.